Welcome back to Big Bark Sports. Drew Baressa from Big Bark Media. We always like to tell the story behind the story, and of course with Big Bark Sports, it's sports related. And my guest today literally has his foot in the door in the sports field. So joining me today is CODY SCHOENI from AMRO. CODY, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
So CODY started King's Customs, and the designs are tremendous, and I don't want to waste my breath talking about it. Please tell me what it is exactly that King's Customs does.
King's Customs is a sneaker customizing business where each shoe is hand painted. So I take a design, whatever the client wants, and I really just paint it onto the shoe all by hand. I'm the only artist and I'm the only one doing it, and everything is hand painted on the shoe. And yeah, that's pretty much the gist of it.
And not only that, but it's who you're making these for. So, you see, like at Lambeau Field, they had or for the NFL, they had the My Cause, My Cleats, things like that. And I know you've done that for Vernon Scott, I believe, which is pretty awesome. So for anyone, just check out this stuff. It's unbelievable. So go ahead and tell us. Well, actually, you know what? Before we get into King's Customs, we just talk about sports. So CODY, can you start back to little CODY and little CODY's love of sports, and what were you into and what got you going?
Little CODY started playing basketball first. I found it because of my brother. I know my oldest brother, I have 3 brothers, but my oldest one was always into basketball right away. So I began to love basketball just by watching him play. And then, he'd be shooting on the court, so I'd go out and shoot with him. And so I started playing basketball right away, and that love is still to this day there. But playing basketball, and then eventually transformed into playing soccer, which I was the first one in my family to play soccer. And I started playing soccer. And so pretty much the two loves are soccer and basketball, but basketball is definitely the main one.
So at that point, did you have some buddies at AMRO lean like, hey, hook me up with some shoes here? Yeah,
definitely. When I started doing it, most of my clients were first my friends. And then after that, it transformed into, pro athletes, bigger athletes, college athletes, and random people around the world.
And so go into a few of those. Let's talk about a few of those pro athletes, because those are the names people are going to know. So I know, obviously, Oshkosh, Tyrese Haliburton.
Yep.
Your start there. Now he's with Sacramento, and he's getting his name out there. And I've seen a few of his, like the Black Panther shoes, that were tremendous. And not only that, but, okay, I'm sorry. I'll let you jump in. I'm too excited because I think these are amazing. What you've done is so cool, and I was geeking out over all the stuff you have. So go into some of the people that you've done shoes for.
So you touched on Tyrese. He's obviously my biggest client, my main client. I work with him all the time. Tyrese was somebody I reached out to right before he went to Iowa State. I knew he was going to Iowa State, and I thought it'd be so cool to do for a D1 athlete. So I reached out to Tyrese on Instagram. I told him, hey, let me do a pair of shoes for you. And in exchange, he said, I'll get you on my social media, which he had a bigger social media following than I did. So we did that. And that transformed into him becoming really good at Iowa State, and then he went to the NBA, and that's why I work with him today in the NBA.
I just jotted down a few notes of what I saw. This is a sample size of what you've done in here. So I saw stuff with Milwaukee Bucks, Giannis, Pat Connaughton, Peter Fagan, who's their president, and Coach Bud.
I did a pair for Coach Bud as well. Yeah.
For Coach Bud, I thought that was tremendous. That I saw stuff from Milwaukee Brewers with, I just saw in there it said Prez. Was it for Dave Stearns?
Right.
So tremendous stuff there. And obviously Tyrese Haliburton in there. And you can go into great detail on this. But it wasn't just like the sports stuff on there. The shoes that I saw hit, how many kids today would hit on what you saw or what you've done? Fairly Odd Parents, Kick Buttowski, Penguins of Madagascar, Scooby-Doo, The Simpsons, and Phineas and Ferb, which was absolutely tremendous.
Yeah, I've done so many different cartoons. That seems to be what I get the most of. People love to come to me to get their cartoon shoes, whatever cartoon they watched or whatever they watched as a kid. And that's really fun for me to do because I love cartoons. So it's a lot of fun to touch on all these different cartoons that everyone loved.
So what's your kind of inspiration for doing these? Like when you come up with it, do people kind of pitch you a concept, or is it you just go on and use your creativity?
Well, that really depends on the client, but a lot of times, now that I've been doing this for 4 years, a lot of times people come to me and they're like, I love your work. Can you do something similar to this? Or can you just do this? And sometimes I get a client that completely tells me anything you want to do. And that's what I like to do the most, because it gives me the most like freedom to go ahead and just do whatever.
And I know we've sent someone your way as well. So Big Bark Media, we work with the WBL, Wisconsin Basketball League, and last year their MVP got a custom pair of shoes from you.
Well, he got a certificate to get a custom pair of shoes, but he actually never came to me. So I did the pair for the league, and then the MVP never actually reached out to me. So he can still reach out to me whenever he wants, but he never actually came to me to redeem that free pair of shoes. So
you guys gotta be listening up. Allie, get on the phone with whoever, I don't know who was that won your MVP last year. Get on the phone with them.
I don't know who it was either.
Get this set up. There's gonna be some sweet WBL kicks on someone's future here. All they gotta do is make that call.
Someone's got a free pair of shoes waiting for him.
Right.
Just waiting to be claimed.
Just make that call. And speaking of calls, when you always hear the phrase one call, that's all, people here in Wisconsin, everyone who watches Valley Sports knows you're speaking about David Gruber. So you got to speak to David Gruber as well as some others with, what was that, Project Pitch It this past June. So how was that experience?
That was a fun experience. It was definitely something that I've never done before. So it was fun to get my foot in the door there and do something different. A little bit of a bummer because of COVID. I had to speak to them through a TV, which was a different experience because I like face-to-face conversation. And it was fun though because it was a way to build new connections, and that's how the Bucks stuff actually came about. The new connections led to me meeting Peter Fagan and Pat Connaughton, and that's how I got to do a pair for Giannis as well. So just new business connections. So it was a really fun experience.
What's kind of your end game out of that? So I'm kind of unfamiliar with Project Pitch It to begin with. So was this kind of like the Shark Tank kind of concept?
Close. It was more of they called it a more Wisconsin friendly version. It wasn't, they're not trying to take any of my business. Like, Shark Tank, they try to like invest in your business. They were just trying to shed light on the business, and there was prize money in that too to win, but the end goal was to shed light on the business.
So that was almost more of just exposure,
right?
So Wisconsin exposure of Wisconsin companies, that's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
To see something like that here, and those were some big hitters from Wisconsin too, and a part of that. So that's fantastic. So not only shoes, but you've done some other work on some other pieces as well. If you want to talk about that outside of the shoe world. Yeah,
I've done a few pieces. I want to start branching into other things, but I've done like a skateboard. That was a fun piece to do. I did a skateboard. At the end, I took the skateboard deck on the bottom and I covered it in newspaper, and then I drew a cartoon on top of it, an anime cartoon, and that turned out really cool. I think that's the only other thing, unless you have other things jotted down that I did.
No, that was the main one I saw. I thought it was cool, and outside, the Joker one was unbelievable. Like I know we'll have visuals up here so you guys can see them. Right. So, we touched on Vernon Scott for My Cause, My Cleats, as well as some others outside the basketball world, a lot of Miami Dolphins stuff. Or some Miami Dolphins stuff.
A few, yeah. I got to paint for one Miami Dolphin player.
So obviously, there might be some Dolphins-inspired color scheme that I use here in this, and that might be somewhat related on that. So I thought that was pretty good. And I've seen you've done some baseball spikes as well.
Yep, I've done baseball cleats. I did a few in the MLB. Some of the players I did in the MLB were like Archie Bradley. A big one. I'm not huge into baseball, but I know a big one that I did was Edwin Encarnacion. And then I did a pair for the Brewers catcher. Omar Narvaez. Yep. Omar, and I did two pairs for him. So yeah, I got my foot in the door a little bit in the MLB game last summer. So that was fun to do as well. All different leagues are fun to get into and different players, but it's awesome to see my work in different pro leagues, NBA, NFL, MLB. So
where do you think your next step is?
My goal is just to keep hitting pro athletes, really. I mean, I got my foot in the door in different leagues, but I mean, there's tons of players in those leagues that I haven't hit. So my goal is to keep hitting those more players. The more players, the better. So,
and so you're a college student at UW-Oshkosh, right. And because this is such a passion for you, and this is hitting on you, you're kind of taking a step back from the education game?
Right, yeah, it was going really well, and I told my parents, when I talked to my parents, I was like, yeah, I never really had a chance to fully just work on my shoes. Like, I was always, in high school, focusing on high school sports and shoes. So I was like, what would really happen if I focused on shoes 100%? Like, I put everything aside and I focused on shoes. So I did that for the first semester, and it went really well. And so it transformed into taking another semester off, and we'll see where things go from there. So.
Well, I hope that we can help you get wherever you want to go. I think your stuff's amazing. We will have in the future, I'm being told, some shoes possibly coming our way.
Very soon.
So very much looking forward to that. So I want to thank my guest. I punched the microphone. I want to thank my guest, CODY SCHOENI, for joining us today of King's Customs. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.
Good luck to you in the future. We're going to hear more about you.
Awesome.
Can't wait. Thank you for joining us. Big Bark Sports. We'll catch you next time.